Equality Florida is important because it's dedicated to ensuring that our kids are receiving educators who are knowledgeable, who have inclusiveness training, and are ready to support and care for them and make sure that they're getting the love they deserve in school.
Equality Florida is important because of the training that they offer when it comes to transgender cultural competency, which plays a vital role when the transgender individual is transitioning in the workplace.
Equality Florida is important because it's so easy to become complacent. But the reality is that 2018, we are locked in a battle like never before. But fear not, Equality Florida is here. Equality Florida is the only statewide organization that is lobbying day in and day out for LGBTQ rights. We need to pass the Competitive Workforce Act, and we need an environment in Florida that's going to lift up the voices of LGBTQ folks, not push them down. And that's why while Equality Florida is fighting for us,
We need to fight for Equality Florida.
We need to fight for Equality Florida.
What do we want? What do we want it? What do we want? When we want it? I say equality, you say Florida. Equality! Equality! Equality!
While we wait for Washington to do something, we go to Tallahassee. And when Tallahassee's not doing something, we go to the counties. And when the counties aren't doing things, we go to the cities and the school districts.
I want to make a difference for young people because that's where it all begins and we need for them to be strong.
That is what really drew me to Equality Florida. I was involved with an organization that was actually making a difference that we could feel.
We won't be erased! We won't be erased! We won't be erased! One more time! We won't be erased! Thank you!
Welcome, everyone. I am Barbara Signer, one of the 3 co-chairs of this wonderful Equality Florida Gala. Welcome to our 16th gala. You can say this is our Sweet 16 celebration, a celebration of 21 years of progress.
I'm Terry Gaw, co-chair of Equality Florida Broward Gala. Look at this room. Look, this is amazing. This is absolutely amazing. We have grown every year, and here's the thing. This is the biggest fundraiser for the work that Equality Florida does anywhere in the state. We're bigger than Miami. We're bigger than Palm Beach. We're bigger than Orlando. Thanks to you, the attendees and supporters, supporting the work that we're doing. Thank you so much for being here. With that, I'll give it to my colleague, Fran Epstein.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Fran Epstein, also co-chair. I'd like to take this moment to thank the many, many who chose to give the gift of their time to help ensure a beautiful evening. Your support is critical in achieving our shared goals of equality for all Floridians, and you'll hear more about that later tonight. And if what you see and hear tonight inspires you to volunteerism, activism, or philanthropy, please reach out to any one of us for additional ways that you can help support the work that we do. Thank you all for joining our 21st anniversary celebration. And now for PNC Bank, our statewide presenting sponsor for the 6th consecutive year, for which we are so ever grateful, I'd like to introduce Steve LaRochelle.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is a pleasure to be here this evening to celebrate Equality Florida and representing PNC Bank. I'm a passionate supporter of the LGBTQ community, given that my husband and I finally got married last January after waiting for 10 years. And like me and you, PNC Bank gets it. That's why we're a sponsor of Equality Florida. We know that as a bank, we can make the best decisions through open conversations and varied thinking to support our communities. It's why we're committed to our LGBTQ employees, communities and clients throughout the state and throughout PNC's entire footprint. So yes, we don't live in a perfect society, and corporate America isn't quite perfect yet either. But thanks to companies like PNC, and for organizations like Equality Florida, every day we get that much closer. So thank you.
Good evening. How's everybody doing? My name is Jamie Garola. I'm a reporter at NBC6 News. This is my fourth year as the MC for the Broward Equality Florida Gala. So this year, Out and Proud took on a new significance for me as I came out this year of being in recovery. I can't say yet, and maybe never will be able to, that I'm proud of being an addict, but I am proud of where I am today. And the reason I share this is because I believe that I can't keep the gift of recovery that I have without bringing it to light and end the stigma of alcoholism and addiction. I'm grateful also for Equality Florida for continuing to invite me out here back again and for championing these rights of the most marginalized groups in our society. We have a great night in store. Enough of me. Let's talk about celebrating progress towards LGBTQ equality, the people who make it possible, and hopefully raising some money, just a little bit, along the way. So now I'm very proud to bring to the stage somebody now I've been working with for 4 years, who's, I don't know why, continues to invite me to MC this wonderful event, but without whom none of this would be possible. Equality Florida's South Florida Development Director, Ro, I'm going to mess up your name, Iliestu.
So, thanks so much for coming, and I'm here because I get the privilege to introduce somebody very special to me. You've probably guessed already. He's one of the co-founders, along with Nadine Smith, of Equality Florida. Its Deputy Director, Stratton Politzer.
Rose said this has been a little bit of a roller coaster this last week, and it's a roller coaster we're still riding right now. They are still counting ballots, and we don't know exactly how every race is going to end. And there have been some really tough emotional losses or close races that we're still not certain where it's all going to end. But we cannot let that obscure the tremendous victories that we experienced here in Florida and all across this country on election night. When I think about what it was like when we formed this organization in 1997, the year that Florida passed its Defense of Marriage Act in the State House of Representatives by a margin of 107 to 13, that's how few friends we had back then. This year on Election Day, of the 111 candidates that Equality Florida Action PAC endorsed statewide, 74% of them were elected to office. 74%. And one of the tales of this election that you're going to see is that the enthusiasm for pro-equality champion Andrew Gillum really did lift boats all across our state. And we saw big swings towards equality majorities. Orange County is now a solid pro-equality majority county. Hillsborough County, solid pro-equality majority. We elected so many firsts. First lesbian mayor of a major city in Florida, Terry Johnston in Key West. First lesbian elected to the state legislature, and that was a swing seat that we worked hard on. Jennifer Webb's victory is a big victory. It's a harbinger. We're a nonpartisan organization. Our goal is not simply to make the whole country blue. Our goal is to turn this into a world where we are winning in Florida and we are breaking through in the South, and where we can build bipartisan coalitions of people who believe in human rights. We have close to 30 co-sponsors of our non-discrimination bill. Unprecedented in the country. Unprecedented in the country. And we've never been better positioned as we head back to Tallahassee with 3 openly LGBT state legislators. Chevron Jones here in Broward County, Jennifer Webb, and one of our very top priorities in the election season this year, Equality Florida staff member and super awesome queer, Latinx, progressive, feminist, Carlos Guillermo Smith, who is with us tonight. For us, school districts are also critical to our fight. And we are so thrilled to have one of our heroes, Superintendent Runcie, in the room with us tonight in one of the best school districts in the country for protecting LGBTQ youth. Thank you, Superintendent. Broward has set a standard that we are working to share with the rest of the state, and we elected our first LGBT school board member in the history of Florida. In little, somewhat conservative Polk County, Sarah Fortney was elected on election night, another one of our priorities. So when you think about this rainbow wave and all the LGBT candidates that we elected, that rainbow wave also includes historic numbers of people of color and young people and women. And one of the keys right now is that the folks we're electing are not just there to fill a seat, they are there to fight. And one of the races we prioritized a year out was a race for House District 47, where we had a really superpower progressive candidate. And if you could pull up the Time magazine photo from the back. Many of you all may remember this photo, right? Well, one of the people on that Time magazine front page was running for state representative, ran one of the fiercest campaigns that we have ever seen. I'm not even going to guess at your age, but you're too young. 28 years old, raised close to $400,000 in what is a swing district that progressives had not held in some time. And we just want you to hear a word or two from our young, new, Iranian-American, feminist, LGBT accomplice, Anna Eskamani.
When I look around this room, I mean, this is a intergenerational space. We know there are folks in here who have been fighting the good fight for decades, and I want you to know that we got your back. And we're bringing this fire to Tallahassee, and we're gonna hold our opposition accountable, especially to the Competitive Workforce Act, so we can finally ban discrimination in this state against those who choose to be their authentic selves, and we can ban conversion therapy, and do our part to make sure that every person in this great state can be their authentic selves. And so thank you for contributing to an organization that does so much good in our state and bring us together and reminding us that we are stronger together. And as your newest elected representative for House District 47, I invite you to come to Tallahassee, join Equality Florida for those trips. We need you up there this session. No matter what happens with these elections, we need you in Tallahassee. Thanks, y'all.
So I want to end here, though, because elections are important, but they're not the most important thing. The most important thing is how we shift the culture. The most important thing is how we end bias and bigotry. It's the only way we're ever going to get to the holy grail of this work, which is family acceptance, which means that when an LGBT child is born into this world, that we know they are safe, and we know they are loved, and we know they can be their true selves, whichever family they happen to be born into. And so know that while we are out there working these elections, our Safe and Healthy Schools program has continued to push forward. We've now trained close to 6,000 principals and district leaders all across Florida. We continue to stand with the trans community. As you saw in that video, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. When the president said that the Department of Health and Human Services would ban recognition of transgender people, we were immediately mobilized. This is what you can count on from Equality Florida. We're not just about headlines, we're about front lines. When you see something happen, when you see them come for our community, you can count on us to be there. And for me, the most emotional moment in my last year was at our statewide Safe Schools Summit, where we had a transgender panel of an elementary, middle, and high school student. And when the middle school student spoke, she shared her story, and it was an intimidating room, 185 district leaders, superintendents, board members. She sat on that stage holding her dad's hand, and she kept her face down, but her voice was clear, and she told us the story of how awful it was beginning in elementary school and how when she reached middle school, it became unbearable. And I can tell you one of the most stigmatizing things for her was not being able to simply use the bathroom that aligned with her gender identity. And earlier this year, she tried to take her own life. And she made it. And her director of student services was in that room with us. and stood up and said, we will fight to implement policies faster. This is Sarasota County. Sarasota, where we won 2 school board races in the primary and preserved a 3 school board member majority. Sarasota, where on election day last Tuesday, they turned out a mob to demand that the school district rescind protections for transgender students and stop allowing this little girl and others to use the bathroom. But Equality Florida was in that room. Dee Palazzo was in that room. Our people were in that room. That superintendent, that school board stood strong. That's what you can count on from us in the days ahead. You stand with us. We will continue to stand strong for you and for everyone until every child is protected and loved and no one faces discrimination. Thank you.
My name is Rene Cantu. I am the Business Outreach Manager for Equality Florida. I've just completed my first year in the position, and thank you. The recipient of the 2nd annual Florida Business for Equality Award has maintained a stellar reputation as an inclusive and affirming place to work and to do business, and never hesitates to promote that value from within or in partnership with Equality Florida as a charter member of Equality Means Business and an active participant on the advisory board. In addition to being a significant financial supporter of Equality Florida, Florida Blue has stood shoulder to shoulder with the organization on many major policy initiatives. In Tallahassee, testifying on behalf of the Florida Competitive Workforce Act, and as a leading and visible member of the Jacksonville Coalition for Equality, which was instrumental in the passage of the Jacksonville Human Rights Ordinance. Please welcome Florida Blue's CEO, Pat Garrity.
I too understand what it's like to follow strong women. I'm here this evening with my beautiful wife, Inger, and she is certainly a partner in everything that we do. We have tremendous leaders in our organization, one of them right here at this front table. Penny Schaefer, please stand up. You get to feel the way we do about the work that we do from having great family lives to start with. I had the privilege of being born to 2 people. These are their names, Mary and Joseph. And they taught a lesson early on in our family, and that is respect and love everyone. And so that's a lesson that you bring to your life. And it's something I feel very strongly about. I'm not new to this cause. I was in Washington, D.C. when the AIDS and Design Industry Foundation brought forward fundraisers to fight AIDS. And I stepped forward to commit my organization, and my vice president at the regional level said, "Are you really sure you want to do that?" I said, "Yeah, we really want to do that because it's the right thing to do." When the Human Rights Ordinance in Jacksonville came up, we gathered as a business leadership group, and one of the people in the room put on the table the proposal, you know, if we drop the Q, we can probably get this done. And we, the rest of the business leaders in the room, said, that's the whole point. We're not dropping the Q. You do it all. And so I was asked to be a straight ally in Jacksonville. I like straight accomplice. I like that term. I'm going to take that one back because that's really how I feel about this. With Amy, with Penny, with all of our leadership work in our organization, we stand with you. We stand with you. It's the right thing to do. We stand with you to create a community across Florida of love and respect for everyone. Thank you for this award.
Nine years ago, SFGN needed a publisher, and Norm Kent stepped up. Since then, we turned to SFGN week in and week out for in-depth reporting and sometimes controversial coverage of unfolding, ongoing stories impacting the local, state, national, and even international LGBTQ community. Under his leadership, SFGN has become the largest regional LGBT news weekly. According to Norm, it's, quote, a paper that pulls no punches, protects our friends, defends our allies, and defends our adversaries, or defines, rather, our adversaries. And so I'm proud to present to you tonight the first annual Florida Media for Equality Award, which recognizes a media outlet or person for outstanding service to the LGBTQ community, to South Florida Gay News, and its publisher and editor, Norm Kent.
I too have gotten some word about the recount, and I'm happy to tell you that Al Gore remains in the lead and is likely to win Broward County. When I was first told last summer by Nadine I was winning this award, she said, well, you'll get to talk for 5 minutes at the speech and ceremony. And yesterday at the sponsors event, Stratton said, well, you're not talking tonight, you'll get 3 minutes tomorrow. And on the way out, Rose said, if you can give me that tight 2 minutes. And then my business partner said to me, I can't say hello in 2 minutes. The good news is I put my entire speech on a simple receipt. The bad news, it's a CVS receipt. The newspaper doesn't want a spotlight necessarily shined upon itself. It likes to shine the spotlight on others. So I asked a special guest to be here with me tonight, a veteran of the Air Force, a man who the entire nation came to know after Pulse, a man who became the center of national attention, who has just moved back to Fort Lauderdale, who I ask you to stand and give a special hand tonight, the former executive director of the Orlando Community Center, Terry DiCarlo. You never know when, like the students in Tiananmen Square, you'll be called to stand naked against the cannon. But when you're faced with that challenge, you rise to it. And Equality Florida has done so and become the voice of gay rights and diversity and equality in the state of Florida. A long way from that day in 1999, when I was the executive director of AIDS Project Florida, and Stratton and Nadine walked into my office and said they want to start this organization to advocate equality for citizens of the state of Florida. Now, nearly 2 decades later, they have done so, not only with internships throughout the state for students, but they fill ballrooms in places like Lakeland and Gainesville and Pensacola and Orlando, where they never heard of gay rights. They have done a yeoman's job. They have done a yeoman's job. They have taught us the importance of believing in something. I can tell you, I can promise you that even if we're a small gay paper in a little hamlet called Wilton Manors, our voice will be heard in Washington and everywhere else where we can stand for the equality and your rights to live life freely, justly, and honorably as you do so. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Norm. And now I would like to introduce State Representative Carlos Guillermo Smith.
Appreciate it. Good evening, Broward. How y'all doing tonight? Well, for those of you who don't know, I am a proud, progressive, feminist, queer, Latinx Democrat representing you in the Florida House of Representatives. And I do want to take a moment of personal privilege to say thank you. Thank you to all of you, because I know many of the people who are here in this room helped re-elect me with 64% of the vote on Tuesday. Over 600 people contributed to our campaign so that we didn't have to rely on corporate contributions. Thank you for your support. It's not easy being a Democrat in Tallahassee. And by the way, did I mention I was also homosexual and Latino? You know, every single year, we bestow Equality Florida's highest honor on a true champion for equality. Someone who is always ready and someone who is always willing to stand up for our communities, to stand up for our families. And this year, that person is none other than our friend, Congressman Ted Deutsch. Congressman Ted Deutsch, he has always been defending fairness and equality, even before it was popular. Last year, he introduced the Ruthie and Connie LGBT Elder Americans Act, and for several years, even before he got to Congress, Congressman Deutsch has sponsored landmark LGBTQ equality legislation year after year. He currently co-chairs the Congressional LGBTQ Equality Caucus, not as a member of our own community, but as Representative Escamani said, as an accomplice for our community. Congressman Ted Deutsch, with his leadership now, with a pro-equality majority in the United States House of Representatives, is going to be leading the charge to pass the Federal Equality Act in Congress. Many of you know Congressman Ted Deutsch, of course, because of his commitment to fairness and equality for LGBTQ Floridians, but we also know that we can't have a conversation about reducing hate violence and hate crimes against the LGBTQ community without first having a conversation about reducing gun violence and gun control. I watched, as Terry did and many others did from Orlando, on February 14th, when 17 people were murdered at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, a high school in Congressman Ted Deutsch's district. Congressman Ted Deutsch was a guiding light and a powerful leader who helped lift the voices of folks in his community, especially the young students and teachers and parents at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. And when Roe asked me to have the honor of giving him the Voice for Equality award, I couldn't help but think back 8 years ago when his campaign for Congress, when he got elected in 2010, was actually the very first political campaign that I ever volunteered for in the state of Florida. Right in Broward County and in Palm Beach County and Boca Raton when I was living with my parents. And he inspired me to get involved, to knock on doors, to make phone calls. And I was a much younger, much slimmer, much cuter Carlos back then. But yeah, I'm engaged now, thank you. Thank you for that, Terry. Back to Congressman Deutsch. Congressman Deutsch inspired in me a feeling that I wanted to get involved in public service, that I wanted to make my community better when I was working for his campaign. And we are all proud to call him our Voice for Equality Award recipient for 2018. Folks, please give a round of applause to Congressman Ted Deutsch, our Voice for Equality honoree for 2018.
Thank you, Equality Florida. I'm so sorry that I can't be with you, but so incredibly proud to be an LGBT ally and honored to be this year's Voice of Equality recipient. Following the 2018 midterm elections, Americans who support equality have so much to be proud of. This year we saw a blue shift across the country, even in deeply red states. Pro-equality candidates won races for Nevada's governor and senator. In the Midwest, pro-equality candidates won the governor's mansions in Wisconsin and Michigan and Illinois. We had big wins in South Florida that helped us take back the House with pro-equality candidates Donna Shalala and Debbie McCarcel-Powell. And a Massachusetts ballot initiative passed to protect transgender people from discrimination. We also saw history being made in this year's midterms with growing representation of women and LGBT Americans on the ballot and soon to be sworn in to Congress, governor's offices, and local leadership. Christine Hallquist was the first openly transgender major party candidate for governor in Vermont. LGBT candidates won all around the country. Kate Brown was reelected the governor of Oregon. My friend Jared Polis was elected governor of Colorado. And my friend Tammy Baldwin will return to the Senate from Wisconsin. And Key West's mayor-elect Terry Johnson is the first openly lesbian mayor in our state's history. It's clear the country is changing. Marriage equality is the law of the land, and the community of LGBT Americans and their allies are refusing to back down from the forces of hate and prejudice in this country. LGBT Americans are entering civic life, unafraid of sharing who they are and who they love with the voters, and that's how it should be. The American people should be engaged in robust debates about policy. But who you are and who you love shouldn't keep anyone on the sidelines. And that's why I'm so proud to be an ally in Congress. In America today, there are too many places where people can lose their job because of their sexual orientation or gender identity. That's why I joined as one of the first co-sponsors of the Equality Act to prevent discrimination throughout American life. It's why I was so proud when I was a member of the Florida State Senate in authoring the State Employment Non-Discrimination Act, which we didn't get passed, but we got it through a committee with a positive vote for the first time ever. In America today, there are LGBT seniors who feel like they're being forced back into the closet out of fear of discrimination and harassment from caregivers and housing providers. That's why I introduced the Ruthie and Connie LGBT Elder Americans Act in honor of Ruthie Berman and in memory of her late wife, Connie Kurtz. Strong activists, amazing people for equal rights here in South Florida who have had an impact literally around the country. In America today, transgender patriots have been told that their service and sacrifice isn't enough. In America today, our State Department has tried to prevent same-sex partners of foreign diplomats from even entering our country. And in America today, 40% of homeless youth identify as LGBT, and the suicide rate among LGBT youth is as many as 7 times higher than heterosexual youth. It's clear we've got a lot of work to do. The progress we've made in this year's election means that we will have an even louder voice for equality in this Congress than ever before. And I'm looking forward to being a part of a pro-equality majority in Congress, no matter what the party, and we'll be ready to fight back against discrimination in all of its forms. My friends, I take my role as an LGBT ally seriously. I'm committed to opening my eyes to see discrimination and injustice, to opening my heart to understanding the burden of inequality on LGBT Americans, and to getting on my feet to stand side by side with the LGBT community in the face of hate, because hate will lose, love always wins. Thank you for this great honor. Thank you so much and have an incredible night.